In terms of the personal statement, it is read. We may get in excess of 4,000 applications each year, but it is something we look at very carefully, and it can make the difference between a well-qualified applicant academically being offered a place or not. So care with the personal statement is a worthwhile investment in terms of you applying to Queen Mary for law. What do you put in it? I do feel very much that applicants have a tricky job in determining the content, and I understand that. I think relevance is the key. You should think about making what you say relevant to applying to university and applying to read law as an academic subject. Quite often the personal statement thinks about, or talks about rather, law as a profession, as a career goal, which is perfectly understandable. Many law students will want to think about becoming a lawyer, solicitor or a barrister. But we want people who want to be academic lawyers, who want to study it for 3 or 4 years. And that's really important that you demonstrate your interest in law as an academic discipline, just as you would in history or physics or engineering or mathematics. So you have choices, and in being relevant to an application to study law at degree level, you can show why your skills at school in your academic studies are relevant to the discipline of researching, writing about law, transferable skills academically. That's certainly fine. You can also rely upon your interest in becoming a lawyer, and so if you've done work placements, by all means mention them. But in the end, the content, as far as I'm concerned, is less important than the way you write. So for me, the personal statements which really engage my mind, the ones that appeal to me most, are the ones which have a sense of composition about them, which not only make individual points but connect them, build them in a coherent way, so that you compile a case which is about your reasons, your claims to be selected, with things about you as a person. Maybe it's anything. It could be sport, it could be a drama. It doesn't matter what it is. Indicate to me what you do and how you do it, and the level of your participation. I may not know anything about the Kent Regional Drama Final, but if I know that you were a finalist last year, then I'm going to be impressed by that. If you're a county cricketer, then that is terrifically impressive, but I'll be equally interested that you play for your first 11 at school. So your interest, dancing, music, whatever it may be, tell me about it, and I think that will begin to give your story of the life you have outside the classroom. One other thing for personal statements, in terms of a bit about the content, it's a chance to explain something unusual about your application. So if there is something special, different, perhaps you've had a gap year, maybe you've had problems when you were studying, then it's perfectly in order for you to talk about them, and it's very helpful for me to know the context within which some of your academic achievements should be placed. So don't lose the opportunity to write in your personal statement things, even if they're sensitive things, which will actually make me understand why maybe your academic results aren't as strong as some of the other people who are applying, but show that you've achieved yours under rather difficult and testing conditions. So 2 things. Exaggerated language I don't think is something you should use. If you can possibly use a simple statement of your interest in law, do it as opposed to an exaggerated claim. And secondly, if you are making a claim to something quite extraordinary, then it's as well that you actually give reasons and don't simply assert that you have a passion. Tell me how it is and why it is and where the passion comes from. In similar ways, it is probably better to avoid humour. Unless you can be sure that I'm going to share your sense of humour, I may not find that it's an appropriate way to write something as serious as a personal statement. And equally, I think you should be careful about drawing in popular culture, so that your interest in studying law comes from looking at Judge Judy is not necessarily the way to impress a selector that that is a reason that you should be reading law at Queen Mary University of London. The teacher's reference, obviously the primary advantage of a reference is to see how the tutor believes the candidate will perform in the examinations which they're relying upon to get into university. So with A-levels, the reference is most helpful if it is clear and explicit in predicted grades. That may seem obvious, but quite often references are a little bit tentative or don't even directly refer to the predictions that the candidate may achieve the tariff that we're looking for, whether it's A star and 2As. So at best, the reference writer, I think, should take care of that most basic need. It is very helpful if the reference also includes detailed information about the student's academic abilities. So the reports from subject tutors explaining the different kinds of skills, whether they're written skills or oral skills that the student has, certainly can make me believe that this isn't somebody who has the ability to do exams, but they also can contribute in other ways to the study of law and to the classes, the seminars that they'll be attending. So that full detail is terrific, and we welcome it as a basis for putting a full statement of the candidate's abilities and skills. I think the other thing which we find very valuable in references is when the schools tell us about the schools that the student is coming from. It's very helpful to know the kind of community that the school operates in academically, the level of performance in examinations. This is particularly important for widening participation. It helps us to understand that the student's achievements can be seen as very creditable indeed, because the school doesn't necessarily have a strong tradition of sending people to university. So information about the school, the population, the kind of record that the school has in public examinations is all very helpful. I think more than anything else, the bit that I find sometimes is wanting in references is that the reference writer doesn't necessarily give me some important information about the particular candidate's personal circumstances, where they're relevant to the academic achievements of the candidate. So sometimes you have a sense that the student has had certain difficulties, maybe family problems, maybe things in relation to a family breakup, and the information isn't talked about in the reference at all. And I think that the school can do a great service to candidates to try and give a picture from a neutral perspective of the way in which the candidate has been affected in the study at school because of things happening outside, whether they're medical, whether they're family or otherwise. Equally, if the candidate's a resit, taking resits, it's useful to have a sense of how the school believes the candidate's performance originally in their A-levels or in the IB was affected, was below the expectation the school had of the student. And then I think we can better evaluate whether or not we want to consider the student as having exceptional reasons for being made an offer, even though they haven't fulfilled the requirements at A-level or IB first time around. So references can do a great deal to make us understand the circumstances in which students have been studying and the problems that they may or may not have had. And if the reference writers can be as candid as possible, while obviously recognising the needs for confidentiality sometimes, that can be terrifically helpful.